Yo peeps, it's me, that one with all the cats, and today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. So I read 9 things in February and 6 of those were on my 2020 TBR. I'm going to be mentioning my 2020 TBR on every wrap-up just so it's in my mind, so I don't forget about it, you know. So that means during January and February I've read 10 of the 45 books on there, so it's very much on track. Also, I participated in the Contemporaryathon, so I'll let you know if I remember which ones were for which things in that. Yes, let's go. So the first thing I read was Rat Queens Volume 2. This is a fun series, fantasy series about a bunch of girl characters. They're just badass, go around killing things and stuff, and they're all from different races. And it's just really fun. This is the sort of artwork we're getting in here. And yeah, I mean, I can't really think of what to say about this other than I really enjoyed it. And it's fantasy and funny and crude. Next up, I read the Death Note special one-shot. I just randomly saw this on Twitter, people were talking about it, and I was like, no way, that exists. So I went there and I read it, and it was really good and really fun. It takes place sort of nowadays, I think, and obviously it follows our favourite death god and him giving the Death Note to somebody else. And it's just a whole heap of fun. Even though it's a one-shot, it's quite sizable. It's like 40 pages, 50? I don't know. I'm just making it up as if I know. I can't remember. But it's quite a nice chunk. It's not just a few pages. It was really enjoyable. I'm glad that I could go back to the world of Death Note. There's some little nods to politics in there of real life. Spoiler alert, Donald Trump may or may not make a little guest appearance in that. But if you can find it, I mean, probably just Google it, I can't remember what it's on, but give it a read because it's free, it was online, it's a one-shot, give it a go. Next up, I read The Music of What Happens by Bill Konigsberg. This follows 2 characters, Jordan and Max, and it's multiple perspectives, so yeah, flip from one to the other. And basically, one of them has a food truck and the other one starts working there, and it's just a really cute, slow burn romance. Both of the characters have different aspects of their family life, relationship. One of them is dealing with a traumatic experience, content warning for sexual assault, and the other one's mum has got some addiction problems and he's a little bit guarded because of that. He doesn't really know why the other one would want to talk to him or be his friend, or if he would ever like him. And I've seen some people say that his character is quite annoying because he's so negative, but I think it's really good to show that because a lot of people do have them negative thoughts in their head. They're like, why would this person like me? Why would they even want to talk to me? They're definitely not going to like me. They're definitely not going to fancy me. That is very real feeling, and it's good that you see it in here. I also like the fact that it's slow burn. It's really slow burn, but not to the point where nothing happens for a long time. It's just little cute bits here and there. But there's also quite a serious side to this book as well. You might not think it when you're looking at it, but this whole sexual assault business is obviously a part of the book and it's quite serious. And yeah, it made me cry, of course. You know what I'm like. Would definitely recommend this book if you've not read it already. Next up, I read Snot Girl Volume 1. This was for Contemporaryathon, which was a book with green on the cover. And it was just a lot of fun. I didn't really know what this was going to be about. I hadn't really read into it. I like picking up graphic novels, and it's about this fashion blogger, and then she has allergies, that's why she's all snotty, and then these strange things start happening and it's a bit of a mystery and you don't really know what's going on or whether it's real or not. And I liked that. I wasn't 100% expecting that, but it was very interesting and definitely something that I would like to continue because what's happening, what's going on. This is the sort of artwork we've got in here. It's very bold and bright and fun to read. Next up, I read Borrowed Boy by Gant. For Contemporaryathon, this was a new to you author and a diverse book. This one, I felt like it was trying to do too much in too short of a time. So this is less than 200 pages and it was trying to deal with a very tough topic. Basically, the main character in here is living his best life, and then an agent turns up his house and it turns out that he was stolen at birth, sold into an adoption agency, and his real birth parents want him back. And that's a lot. He tries to focus on his actual family that he's been growing up with this past 16 years. It's also trying to focus on this other family that's looking for him and his relationship with them and how they felt. It's also trying to focus on his sexuality and realising that he's gay and liking a boy. And it was just like, there was too many points. All of them were done okay, but none of them were done great. Which was unfortunate, because I thought the premise of this book was really, really good. It's such an interesting concept that I haven't really seen before. I would have liked it if they focused more on one of the aspects, or if it was longer. But it was alright. It was okay. Also props for having a trans character in there, just being trans, you know? It happens. And I got a little bit frustrated at some points just because I felt like I wanted him to talk to his brother, mostly. His biological brother, because he was a dickhead. But, oh, he was actually 13, not 16, so because he was younger, I felt like maybe he just didn't know how to talk to people, how to have proper conversations, but that kind of annoyed me. Also, one of the points which I thought would not happen in real life was when he went back to live with his birth parents. That's not a spoiler, it says on the back that that's what happens pretty much. They make him take the name that he had as a baby instead of the one that he's lived with for 13 years, and I just feel like that was very unlikely to get a 13-year-old to start answering to a different name after 13 years of being this person. It just felt a bit weird. Why would the court do that? But yeah, I enjoyed the whole premise. I enjoyed what it was trying to do, but it just didn't quite get there for me. I gave it a 3 stars. Next up, for a backlist book over a year old and for a darker, hard-hitting contemporary, I read Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake, and oh my days. 5 stars, first of all, let's just throw that out there. This book made me cry so much. Genuinely, I took this with me when I went to photograph a gig, so I was reading it on the way there and on the way back. On the way back, on a bus, luckily there was not many people on there because it was like 11:30 at night, but I cried 5 times on the bus while reading this within like a 40-minute period. So yeah, that's what it did to me. Basically, this book follows a girl and her twin brother is accused of rape by his girlfriend, and it's just, as you can imagine, very hard-hitting, very deep. There's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of believing one thing, trying to believe another, not believing that he could do that, but also not believing his girlfriend that he did do that. And there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of cry-worthy stuff going in this book. Obviously those 5 times on the bus were not the only times I cried. I cried a lot. And it was just great. It was just done amazingly. If you haven't read this book, then do so. If you can read about this sort of topic, 1000% do it, because it is so good. And then the last book I read for Contemporaryathon, which covered a beloved book by a member in the community and a book with an illustrated cover, was Eliza and the Monsters by Francesca Zappia. Yes, I finally read this. I feel like I've been wanting to read it for ages, and it's happened. This book, as I'm sure you're all aware because it's pretty big on BookTube, is about a girl at school who writes this comic online that's pretty darn popular, but she's anonymous so nobody knows it's her. And then, you know, cue the new boy at school, becoming friends with him, becoming more. He really likes the comic, but she doesn't really want to admit that she was the person that did it. So, I did enjoy this. I think I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was an amazing, brilliant thing. Basically, I've heard a lot of people talk about how great the anxiety rep is in here, and I feel like I didn't really see it much. Maybe I was looking for other things. We all have different versions of anxiety, so maybe I was looking for stuff that felt real to me, but I didn't really see much of that. I did enjoy the book. I thought some of the pacing was very painting by numbers. There's a new boy at school, there's a secret, doesn't need to be a secret, but I enjoyed getting there. One thing that probably nobody else has said, I really wished it was a friend thing. You know, this character Eliza, she just plods along, she doesn't really have any friends, and I really wish that it either was a friend thing the whole way through or it was a friend thing for longer than it was, because I feel like they jumped into a relationship pretty darn quickly, and I would have liked to just see a friendship blossom first between them. That was one of my only gripes with this. Other than that, I liked that it talked about fandom and we see all these different people that enjoy the story and what that means for them. There was also some very emotional bits towards the end. I cried. You know what I'm like. I cried. And yeah, I'm glad I finally read this. I've heard some people are not a fan of the fact that it does sprinkle the comic, the story throughout, but I like that. It meant I knew what these people were talking about and what they were a fandom of. It didn't make loads of sense because we didn't get the whole story, but I liked the fact that we got little sprinklings of what this fandom is all about. Next up, well, throughout the whole month really, I read James Acaster's classic Scrapes by James Acaster. This is just loads of little stories about things that happened to him, so I was reading it throughout the whole month, bits here, bits there, and it was a lot of fun. Some of them I'd already know from TV shows, Would I Lie to You, or that it told randomly on stuff like 8 out of 10 Cats or whatever, but there was a line here that I hadn't heard before, and it's just silliness and stuff that would only happen to James. I also like the fact that you can definitely tell that he actually wrote this book himself, because you read it in his voice in your head, you know exactly what's going on and you know exactly what he's saying and how he's saying it. Yeah, it was just a bit of fun, it was enjoyable, it was nice to just dip into it throughout the month. I'm glad I read it. Oh, side note, for those people that probably don't know who James Acaster is, he's a comedian, so this just talks about things that happened throughout his childhood, throughout his adulthood, his teenage years, times when things have gone wrong and he's somehow got himself into these weird situations. And then last but not least, I read Knife Edge by Mallory Blackman. So I read Noughts and Crosses in January. I wanted to carry on the series quickly so I didn't forget what was happening. And this book was really good. When I first started reading it, I was like, but maybe by the halfway, or I don't know how far in, I was really getting into it. I didn't like it as much as the first book. I gave it 4 stars rather than 5, but I just love the fact that this book is so against what you would imagine in YA. Like, there's so many tropes in YA that you'd expect in this series, but it's just like, nope, 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 nope. I don't want to go too much into it because it's a second book in a series, but it talks about race and politics. Basically, in here, Noughts and Crosses, the crosses are the people in power and they are people of colour, and the noughts are the people that have been in slavery and are now second-class citizens who are white. And it's just a really good talk and discussion on race and what that means. Obviously there's a lot of twisting things on their head and being the opposite. One thing I did find interesting in this book is somebody, I can't remember how the conversation happened, but someone was basically talking about how the noughts would take the cross culture and want their hair like them and want their lips like them. I just found that really interesting because that happens in real life as well, even though it's like flipped on its head. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting, that was one of the aspects that happened in the book, how it does happen in real life. Like, people are very big on black culture and having all these big lips and big bum and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know what I thought about that in terms of what it means, but I thought it was very interesting that it included that way round rather than the other way around, because obviously everything else political in here is the other way around. So yeah, we got to hear from different characters in here. A lot happens. Can't really say anything, it's the second book in the series, but it so doesn't go where you'd expect it to go. As a YA series, there are so many tropes that just don't happen, and it's refreshing. Even though this series is quite old, it's refreshing how different it is. So yeah. So there we go, those were all the things that I read in February. Let me know down below what you read in February, or if you've read any of these, what were your thoughts on them. If this is your first video by me and you enjoy it, then please check out some of my others, and if you continue to enjoy, then please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I will see you in a few days with another video.